Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of That Scuffed Up. Today, episode 15, coming to you right here, right now. Justin Lee and Stephen Hayden on the other side. How are you doing, my friend?
Well, there we're doing good. A little bit of a little more relaxing week than last week. We're not as tired. We're not as sore as previously. But we got some more stuff coming up in the future, so it's going to become busier. It's nice to get a little break here now. So.
Yeah, for sure. Coming back from 4th of July week, starting the new week here as we're recording this. The off-season now in a full-fledged effect here in OC Wiffle Ball. Just waiting on tournaments to come around and the season to come up pretty quick. Obviously, the next season won't start till late August, and you got the summer tournament coming around, most likely around late July, early August or so. So about 2 to 3 weeks or so before things start to kick into high gear. But been able to see a couple of teams practicing out there. See the Trash Pandas have re-signed up for the next season, and we got a new change of faces here for OC Football. Obviously, we have implementing 3 new divisions. You got Division 1, 2, and the Purple League coming around next corner as well. And then you got the Big Bat tournament coming up pretty soon, like I mentioned before. So, but for present term matters, we're going to recap the entire 2023 summer season for OC Wiffle Ball. Today on our show, we'll be talking about every single award winner prediction, not the official award winners, obviously. And then we'll be predicting our thoughts on the first team, second team, All-Americans for the summer 2023 season, and maybe a couple honorable mentions if possible. And then we'll get down to the future matters, which would be talking about the fall season and those summer tournaments as well. I'm going to be referencing a lot just based off the pictures that we got from OC Wiffle Ball's Instagram about the schedule. You can find these actually on the OC Wiffle Ball website if you check out the fall and winter season schedules, including the Division 1, 2, and Purple League breakdowns as well. They explained every single thing into detail, in depth. And pretty soon here, OC will be holding a board members meeting to talk about everything else and finalizing the summer tournament. So keep an eye out. We'll be announcing every single rules, ramifications, and all of the basic structure of how the tournament's going to work. I know there's talks about having the tournament mostly on Sundays, for sure. So, but not everything is finalized yet. Obviously, we'll talk about that in the next couple of weeks here and try to start advertising that as soon as possible, because we want to have not just OC football people come out to the tournament, but people from around, not just Orange County, LA County, Riverside County, San Diego County, wherever you are, come out, check out the OC football tournament that's coming up. But let's talk about these award winners that we believe will be the winners for each award for the summer 2023 season. Obviously, each award being with the very first, the MVP, Rookie of the Year, Manager of the Year, Cy Young Award winner, Silver Slugger, Hand Aaron Award, and All-Star Game MVP as well. Obviously, we already have World Series MVP with Zach Warren being elected that MVP position already, so he already has an award. Last season, we usually give out plaques. But the previous season, Anthony gave out this cool looking mug, as you see Steven holding that up there for his Hank Aaron Award. Pretty nice little piece to keep on your mantle and to drink, a little cup of liquor out of as well. Has that just been sitting up in your room? You've been drinking?
We're family friendly over here. We do not drink alcohol out of this. This isn't adult league, but we do not, actually. We'll have some more. I have some more kids in the league in the future, but we do not drink out. I haven't drinking out of this at all. I just keep this right above my desk here as a little reminder of the spring season. When we won not just the award I won, but also winning the World Series and things like that. But I've not had a drink out of this yet. I'm not really planning to unless there's something special that comes up. I still even have the tag on the bottom. So. Well, I don't know what we're going to do award-wise, whether it'll be the mugs or whether it'll be going back to plaques. You can see over there with my Hank Aaron Award for the spring 2022. I've won a few plaques already so far. So got the other two above me right now, including the World Series champion one. So
how many awards in total does that make it?
I've got four in total. I've got my very first season. I have the spring 2022 plaque for the Hank Aaron Award. I have the summer 2022. I was the manager of the year. The fall, I did not win one. Did not deserve to win one. And then the spring, I have the mug and my plaque and I guess technically it's our plaque for the World Series champions, but I get to keep it. So.
Yeah, and then obviously 2 awards were already given out this previous season to the Beach City Bombers. Zach Moore getting the World Series MVP, and then obviously the Bombers also got the World Series title, so they'll get that plaque at some point, or they already did. I'm sorry.
They got to take pictures of their plaque. The plaque was already in. Unlike ours, we had to. We never officially got given our plaque, but we had to wait until the summer season to get our plaque. So overall, it was. It's a cool experience to be able to get that plaque the day right when you win. We had to use the pepper shaker in replacement, and then we never officially got given the plaque from Anthony when he did the awards the second week of the summer. But that's just the way things go sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it was a different time, different situation for OC Football at the time, but things are starting to look up more for OC Football. Looks like there's a lot more people who are going to be entering the league, and like we said, different look for what's going to happen in fall season and winter season. Hopefully, you're able to drink some celebratory stuff out of that cup in the fall season if we make it up to the top at some point. Anyways,
I might have to bring it out if we win. Might have to get something in there.
Yeah, just.
I don't want to clean the inside of it though. That's the thing. It's like it just looks. I mean, it's a little dirty just from the dust and stuff, but I'd have to actually clean it out. I probably should take this tag off at some point, but it's like I don't want to clean it. It just looks good.
It looks nice, yeah. Yeah, don't let that thing become too dusty. You know what I'm saying? Oh, okay. He's like I wanted something else. But yeah, anyway, So let's talk about these award winners first of all. You have your selection of guys already, so I'll actually let you start off who you believe will be the winners for each different award. So go ahead and take it away, and let's start off with the first award, which is the most important one, obviously, MVP.
I feel like we should go. I feel like we should go least to most right here. Kind of save the MVP for the. Save the MVP for the end, kind of like the order I have here.
Okay.
Let's start off with the All-Star Game MVP. This ended up it was a 16-9 game, I believe. I was kind of confused on which team was which. I finally won my first All-Star Game, which was great. I'm gonna look it up right now just to make sure. It was won by Team Purple, I guess. I guess that was our team name against Team Orange. Defeated Team Orange. It was 15. It was a 16-9 game. Purple team consisted of Stephen Hayden, Dylan Hoffman, Shane McCoy, Brett Humphrey, Tyler Moore, Justin Lee, and Michael Haskup. So congratulations to those 7 for coming out to the beach. And what we talked about before was a very interesting day out there, but the MVP, in my opinion, and this is not going to be a good look, but I did have a very good year. I'm choosing myself for the All-Star Game MVP. I went 3 for 3 with 2 home runs. I got 4 walks in my 7 at bats, so I did not get out once at all. I did the majority of the pitching for our team. It might have even been a higher scoring game. It might have been like 21 to. No, I think it was like 21 to 14 or something like that. It was something extremely high. I also did the majority of our pitching. We only played 4 innings. I pitched nearly 3 innings of that. I ended up getting only allowing like 4 runs. So in a game, which both teams are scoring 15 plus runs, that's pretty good. Just gave up 1 homer. I had some weird fastball that kept dipping down to that was working out there. So given the fact that I didn't get out once, and also I did most of our pitching on the mound, objectively, I'd give the All-Star Game MVP to myself.
I think it's a fair argument. I don't remember the stats in total from that All-Star game. I just know I had like a triple and a home run, one strikeout. Tyler Moore, sorry, had a pretty good day as well. I think he had one home run if I remember, and mostly hits the rest of the day. And then he also did a pretty good deal of the pitching as well. I'm gonna cut.
Yeah, but I believe he pitched one. I believe he pitched one inning. I pitched. I think I pitched 2 2/3, and I think Tyler only got out once on the whole day, hitting wise. Right, whereas I did not get out once at all.
Mm-hmm.
That's the decision maker. That's the deal breaker for me.
Okay, I think I would agree. Just on this selection, just based off of the obviously the stat line that you're looking at. I think I'll go with like a fun one here as well, just to mention it. The one-handed home run that happened in that game was probably the top highlight moment of the entire game. You gotta have good strength to hit a ball with one hand, and in those conditions, you got to be able to come through. And obviously, our band did so as well.
Yeah, it was definitely it was one of the cooler moments of the day. I mean, some of the pitch. It was very hard to pitch out there, pitch consistently. A lot of people's pitching wasn't working. I had to go to some other pitches. I wound up just throwing this like fastball, maybe like 55 miles an hour, and then because of the wind, it would just dip into the zone. So I'd throw it at people's heads, and I actually caught a few people, good amount of people looking on strikes. But that home run was. He was pretty excited on that one. Who was it again? I can't remember exactly who it was, but it was a funny moment out there. It was one that was kind of unexpected. I believe, if I'm not, I believe it was Shane. It was either Shane. I think it was Brent Humphrey. It was either Shane McCoy or Brent Humphrey. I can't remember who it was. Wow. But whoever it is, they do remember, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, hopefully we got one of the names that would fit the right person. So, if we didn't, I apologize if we forgot. But your name will be etched in forever in history when we figure that out, and whoever hit the one-handed home run will be forever remembered. We still have it on video, so if you want to check it out, it's already gone at this point, I believe, but I had that video up there on the Hunky Door Sports Show Instagram for a little bit. So, but yes, All-Star Game MVP. Your next one was Manager of the Year. Who'd you have for that one?
For me, there were two candidates for this. Both of the top two teams, one being Drake Hoffman and the other being Tyler Moore. We had Tyler Moore on to discuss a lot of his manager stuff. He was kind of unexpected for him. He wasn't really planning on being a manager coming into the year. I remember that first game. He was kind of like, "Oh, I guess I'm a manager." When we were playing him, he ended up working things out well and adjusting the things there. I'm going to lean slightly towards Drake Hoffman, though. I think first off, be able to manage through an undefeated season is something never done in the league, and is pretty cool. He was able to acquire a bunch of talents. He had True Hendrickson and Shaden Hendrickson both come to his team, making a big difference. He was able to get those guys coming from different teams. One coming from his brother Dylan's team. They all added up. They were all committed to each other. They were all having fun out there our team played their team. It was a fun atmosphere out there. Drake had it. Drake had a good atmosphere with their team. I think either of these guys would be good for it, but I'm gonna lean slightly towards Drake Hoffman for this debate.
Yeah, I think I would agree as well. Having an undefeated season is something that we usually don't hear of in most sports, and being able to carry that all the way to the World Series, and obviously coming up short was tough for their team, but they were down a few guys in that World Series, so got to give them credit for at least playing really well in the regular season and defeating all the top teams that they came face to face with. But we kind of knew that their team would be the top dog just because of the names that you have on there. Like, you got the Hendrickson brothers, and then you obviously have Drake himself, and they kind of switch between the pitching. Most of them sub 4.000 ERA. And then obviously the hitting was still just as good as it was. I think it's a good pick to have Drake Hoffman in there. For me personally, I would like to lean towards Tyler Hoffman just because, or sorry, Tyler Moore. Tyler Moore.
They got a new brother we don't know
that
about. That
slipped out of nowhere. Yeah, you're hiding one from us, Drake?
What Hoffman's doing over there?
You hiding somebody from us? No, Tyler Moore I would lean towards more just because of the fact that the Bombers came out from like one of the worst records from a season ago. You know, they were the last place team. And then this year he's trying to run a team full of guys who are free agents. So, you know, you don't know most of these guys. You don't know what the talent-wise basis is. You only know, like, what, your brother, obviously. And then you have a couple of other guys who have been in the league for some time. Tyler Moore being able to manage all those guys and, yeah, they had some slip-ups against the Purple Huskies, nearly lost a few games, beat the, defending champs from a season ago in the first game, and then you get to the World Series where they defeated the Purple Huskies 2 out of 3 games, and being able to pitch really well and hit at the same time is just as good. We can also talk about Zach Moore, but I feel like Tyler Moore was kind of that team captain aspect for that team that really picked up things for them, and that's kind of the reason why they got to this point, being the World Series champions for summer 2023 as well. So if anything, I'd take Tyler Moore just because of the type of atmosphere and environment that they had to handle coming into this season.
Okay, yeah, different people have different definitions of what they see for the like for these awards and things like that. There will be voting done between the board sometime relatively soon. Anthony's at the point of recording. He's still gone on vacation right now. He's enjoying a long vacation in Barcelona and in Spain right now. So we will see what happens when we come back from that. Next up, we got. I'll let you go first on this one. Rookie of the year. Who did you see? Who, based off the stats and based off how they did, who did you see as the rookie of the year?
Yeah, I should mention. We talk about Barcelona. Apparently, it's a Barcelona. You gotta have that little lift. Apparently, yeah. Anyway, so yes, rookie.
Yeah, we're American over here.
yes, we are American, so we see Barcelona. So rookie of the year, I had 2 different guys. Well, actually, when you talk about this long list of rookies in there, there's actually a pretty interesting list of them. You got Michael Haskell, who was really good batting wise. You had Mel Wright, who kind of figured things out the second half of the season. Finished off with 12 home runs. His pitching was basically what kept him alive coming into the playoffs, and obviously that didn't help them out when they faced the Bombers in the championship game. But 3.30 average ERA wise for his squad, 37 strikeouts and in 20 innings pitched. Had the best pitching stats for the Trash Pandas. But Zach Moore, you talk about the type of accolades that he's got under his belt. World Series MVP, home run derby champion. Kind of came out of nowhere, was a quite under the radar type of the guy, and his batting was really good. His pitching was probably the top notch of his team for the Bombers, so he had a really good season in himself. For rookie of the year, though, the guy I wanted to highlight was somebody who had a really big bat this season. Maybe not top average in the league, but was a really good slugging wise, and I look at a guy like Michael Haskell, 365 batting average, 1.577 OPS, which is the highest on his team for the Trash Pandas. 16 home runs in total, which was 3 behind the leader, which was Lucas Sardo. So there's a weird split between 2 of them I could see right now, which would be Mo Wright or Michael Haskell or Zach Moore, but I feel like I want to give this one to Michael Haskell just because of the slugging stats that he's got.
Okay, I'm gonna stick with for me it was between Zach Moore and Mo Wright, and we've talked about Zach a lot. Had a pretty good year himself. 389 average, 546 on base percentage, and then pitching wise he was very good as well. 36 and 2/3 innings with a 3.28 ERA. He was big in them winning a World Series and getting all the way there. A guy that I'm going to give the award to is Mo Wright, though. I think he'd also be in there if we had a most improved player. I think he'd be in there as well. His bat was always there. He had the highest average on their team, 444 average, and a 512 on base percentage. Had 12 home runs on the year. But it was really the pitching that really was the difference maker here. He started figuring out the pitching as we got through the year. Once he started pitching well, they got on a hot streak. And at one point, I believe they were on the last place team in the league. They had like a 2-6 record or something like that, something around those marks. Once he started pitching, once he started figuring out the pitching, he came in and ended up pitching 20 innings with a 3.30 ERA. Only gave up 11 runs the whole year with 37 strikeouts in 20 innings, which is nearly 2 strikeouts per inning. So overall, I'd give it to Mo Wright for the contribution he did, both as a hitter and a pitcher. With I would Zach Moore closely following behind him, and Michael Haskell. He did pitch a lot more in the beginning for them, for the Trash Pandas. He did have 18 in the third innings pitched, but by the end of the season, including the playoffs, it ended up being Mo Wright and Blake Fitzgerald being the main 2 pitchers on their team, which they got that upset over the other Wolves of OC. So for me, I'm picking my rookie of the year would be Mo Wright right now, especially with how much he improved throughout the year.
Yeah, the improvement factor is really big for, when you join a new league, especially doing football. There's a huge learning curve, of how to learn how to pitch. I mean, I'm still trying to learn how to do pitching the proper way, which is a good thing why there's a Division 2 now. But yeah, Mo Wright came into the season, was also under radar guy, and then started figuring out the pitching, and he was prevalent in that victory over the LA Wolves OC for him. The next award, though, is a pretty interesting one. There was a lot of really good pitching this year, and I'm talking about the Cy Young Award. So there's a pretty long list of guys on here that anyone could go with, but who'd you have for Cy Young Award winner?
At the end of the day, the Cy Young, it came down to 3 guys for me. You had Drake Hoffman, Stephen Hayden, and Dylan Hoffman in there. Drake Hoffman had the .53 ERA on the whole year, 47 strikeouts, and 22 2/3 innings. Only allowed 2 runs the whole year. I can say I was one of those 2 runs he allowed. So that's a good one. I feel like we might have more against them, but you know what? The stats are the stats. So are the stats. Dylan Hoffman, he had finishing with a 2 ERA, had 117 strikeouts in 48 innings pitched. Also only allowed 1 run every 3 innings he pitched, as he allowed 16 runs total. I was able to get a couple of home runs off him and get a couple of those runs. So I'm just going to toot my horn a little bit more when I talk about myself pitching as well. 44 and a third innings pitched, 14 runs allowed, 97 strikeouts, and a 1.9 ERA. I could make the argument it could be me. If there weren't other awards, if we didn't divide up the awards a little more evenly, I probably would give it to myself. But for there's another award coming up, which I'm looking to, which Stephen Hayden's in the running for. So I'm gonna make this a back-to-back Cy Young Award winner in Dylan Hoffman. Drake Hoffman did have that low ERA, but he was also third on his team for innings pitched. And when it comes down to that, it's a little tough to be this Cy Young when you're third in your team in innings pitched. Shaden and True are good pitchers as well, so it's a little hard. So it's a little hard for Drake to shine. But for me, I'd give it to Dylan Hoffman. Led his team to the 4th seed pitching wise, was big for them. End up really really carrying them to that 4th seed. And they were a couple outs away from making it to the World Series instead of the Purple Huskies. So I'm going to give it to Dylan Hoffman.
I think it's a very good pick. Dylan Hoffman was the Cy Young winner last season. He's been really good pitching-wise, like for every single season that he's been around in OC football. And the stat line for him is impressive for sure. And then, obviously you've got yourself who's up there with a 1.9 ERA, which is a huge improvement from a season ago as well. I think that was also carrying off of the big pitching performances in the playoffs that you had as well. And then obviously, you're part of a bunch of different leagues, so that probably helps with pitching a lot. But man, I don't know how you're gonna have an arm later in life, but
I'm not. That just what's one of the, you sacrifice the arm now to not have in the future. I'll be good for a while. There might be some time I need some surgery, but baseball is going to start winding down for me after this year is probably going to be this coming year is probably going to be my last year of baseball. At least at a competitive college level and things like that. And then I still got the wiffle ball going on, maybe some Sunday league stuff here and there for baseball. But other than that, I just get through this year. Hopefully, I don't get hurt. Hopefully, I don't have to deal with any injuries, and we'll be good arm wise.
Yeah, the book of Stephen Hayden is still yet to be written for sure. If there was an award for two guys combined, then I would give it to the Moore brothers. 129 strikeouts in total. For both of them, and then you've got that, out of 70 plus innings pitched for both of them with the sub 4.0 ERA. They basically carried it for the team. But obviously, the conversation is about one guy and one guy only. The three things I really look for when it comes to Cy Young Award winners is the ERA, the number of strikeouts you had on the season, and the number of innings pitched. The thing for me is that Drake Hoffman had a really good ERA, sub 1, 0.53, the lowest ERA, I think, on this stat sheet, with
it is, yeah.
More than 20 innings pitched, right? And then you look at the strikeouts, 47, which is not bad of a number. My only issue is the number of innings that he did, which is 22.6, which is the third lowest on his team. If there was at least 40 plus innings pitched for him, I probably would have given it to him, but because of that, it's tough for me to give it to him in that sense, just because you got different look guys on the team as well, like Shaden and True, when you switch over to them, and then the whole atmosphere kind of changes. So they had a good strategy for how that works, so it worked out for them, obviously. For me, it's like looking for a guy who basically is carrying the team. Maybe his back is hurt from doing that so much. Which is basically between you and then Dylan Hoffman, of course. I like Dylan Hoffman because of the number of strikeouts he had, which is the most in the entire league in this previous season. 48 innings pitched, which is a really good number. I like that number if we're looking at the stat sheet. And then 2.0 ERA. Obviously it's a little bit higher than Stephen Hayden's, but because of other awards, I want to save it, that name for a different conversation. I'm going to put Dylan Hoffman. I'm going to agree with you here and say Dylan Hoffman should be the Cy Young Award winner for the season.
Gotcha. And back-to-back. He's been MVP. He's been All-Star Game MVP. Now we're predicting a back-to-back Cy Young Award winner, which it's a close debate. There was some better pitching this year. The league average went down a little bit. It went down to 341 as a league this year. So the average has gone down like it did previously in the fall of 2022. Which is the previous summer 2022, everyone was hitting. You had guys hitting 23 home runs and like Anthony hit 23 home runs and finished second in the home run total, stuff like that. So we're starting to see the pitching catch up to the hitting now, which I think is good. You don't want to have just a bunch of high scoring games all the time. But Dylan Hoffman, once he started figuring out that pitch in the middle of the fall season, he's been very good for his teams that he's been the captain for. And so we've got him for the Cy Young for the summer season. Once again back to back. See if he can do it a third time. So we will find out.
Yeah, I know. You mean if your name is, if your last name is Hoffman and related to a legendary MLB pitcher, then you're gonna have a little bit of a pitching accolades for yourself, when you're coming in here and playing wiffle ball, right? But yeah, you're talking about the pitching stats a little bit, average wise is a little bit higher this year. The batting actually looked like it was a lot better this year for a lot of teams. So the next one that we'll transition into is the Hank Aaron Award winner. This is mostly for all around offense wise. For the award winner, obviously you were the Hank Aaron Award winner last year, as you showed the cup earlier. But who did you have for Hank Aaron Award?
I mean, to be honest, the cup was for the Silver Slugger Award winner. But I felt like I could have been the Hank Award winner last year, but it was never announced, and then we later saw on the website that it was given to Anthony Agrusa. So he ended up giving he gave the award to himself at a later date. But there are a couple names in there for this. You have me. Yeah, I'm in that conversation. But as we said, probably save myself for a different award. The guy I want to give it to is my teammate that I think, or not I want to give it to, the guy that I think deserves it is the LOC. My teammate is Jordan Drexler. Had a great offensive season this year. He had the second highest batting average in the league with 545 average, 677 on base percentage, which is also second in the league. That's funny because he's not even. Because Steven actually has higher stats on both of those, but yeah, Jordan's second in the league. He had 14 home runs on the year. Only got out 20 times the whole year. He was a force in that number 2 spot, hitting wise for the LOC. And for me, Hank Aaron, that's all about like getting on base and keeping that average up, and just seeing who had the best offensive season. And for me, it was Jordan Drexler.
Jordan Drexler has usually been really good on offense side of things every single year. I like that pick for sure. Second highest average in the league, just behind yourself, obviously on that stat sheet. I'm gonna throw a couple names in there that could also be in the mix of this conversation. Tyler Moore, 477 average, 31 hits out of 86 plate appearances, 17 home runs. Obviously not a rookie. He was here last season with playing in there. Obviously we didn't see him as much before, but a 1.912 OPS, which is a really high number. I know Ellie Osi obviously had the two highest with over 2.0 on the OPS side of things. Which is impressive to say the least. Which is disappointing. Obviously, that the fact that they were not able to make it into the championship game and get to the World Series and whatnot. But obviously, that's in the past now. The other name I would throw in there is also True Hendrickson. I think you can't ignore that True Hendrickson has usually always been in that conversation every single year. May have not had the greatest season like the one from seasons ago, but his numbers still hold true. 496 batting average, 51 hits on the year, out of 122 plate appearances, and then 16 home runs. He's still keeping himself in that conversation for any type of award. I think especially for this one, like the Hank Aaron Award. There is one other name, but I'm gonna save his for the next one that's coming up here in a second. But I would likely say that Jordan Drexler is probably the front runner on this one, and then right behind him is, as a close second, would be, I want to say Tyler Moore for sure, and then True Hendrickson is third for this award. But that's who I think would probably be in line for this award.
A couple guys also in there are Lucas Sardo, Nick Yusoff, in there as well. I'd possibly have those guys above your second and third place. But from what I saw, Jordan was a very, very, very feared hitter as well. You think you have Steven in the lineup, you think you get to relax a little bit, and then you realize you got to go against Jordan. It's a very, very nice 1-2 punch that the LOC had in the year, and have had these past couple years. Obviously, when they won that championship in the spring, and then this past summer, both those guys really, really stepped up the average and improved on the on base percentage as well. Really, really kind of carrying that team in those two aspects. But it's a close vote. There are a bunch of guys in there that could be in there for that award.
Yeah, for sure. And there's you mentioned those guys like Nick Yusoff and a few other guys like Lucas Sardo as well. Hayden Hager, who was a rookie of the year a few seasons ago, did have some good numbers as well, but maybe not as much. Michael Haskell could have also been somewhere in that conversation as well. With the batting stats that he's also got, 16 home runs, which is huge numbers, but maybe not the greatest batting average in the league. And then, Nick Yusuf had a 0.523 batting average with a 1.758 OPS, and then 50 homers to help him out with that. If there was a comeback player of the year, I'd say it would be Nick Yusuf. Coming back from a season break and then coming out and playing like a monster. But you can also put them in the other conversation, which we're about to have, which is the Silver Slugger Award. And some of those names I put in there would be like Lucas Sardo. I think he might be the front runner because for me personally, I'm looking at the guys who have the highest home run numbers in the league, which Lucas Sardo was the home run leader this season with 19 in total. A 1.969 OPS and a 4.94 average. He had a really good season this year on the batting side of things. Nick Yusuf is another guy that's in that conversation as well. 15 home runs, like I said before. I'd say Michael Haskell could also be in that conversation. And then obviously, Steven or Jordan Drexler could also be in that conversation as well. But there's a lot of guys. There's a long list of dudes in there. But who did you have for Silver Slugger Award?
For me, it came down to two guys. It came down to either Nick Yusuf or Lucas Sardo. Nick Yusuf had the higher batting average and on base percentage. Than actually Lucas Sardo had a slightly higher on base percentage. And then with Nick's stats, he had a very good slugging percentage, and OPS I believe was just below Lucas Sardo. Nick Yusuf did have a few more at bats. I would lean towards Nick Sardo. Nick Yusuf's. We're mixing a lot of people's names.
Yeah, I know.
I would lean towards Nick Yusuf for this one. He's a very scary hitter whenever he got to the plate. Had 46 hits on the year compared to Lucas Sardo, who had where is he? He had 38 hits on the year, and also had less walks. That's another thing that Nick Yusuf also had less walks. That's one thing we do take into account. We don't. If you let's say like have 10 plate appearances and you walk 8 times and don't get a single hit, you have an 800 on base percentage, but it's not looked as that's an extreme example, but I do value the hits to walks ratio, and 15 home runs is a very good ratio as well. With 8 more at bats, Nick only got out 3 more times than Lucas Sardo. Lucas Sardo had a great offensive season, and even pitching wise as well, as we'll talk more about him later when it comes to the All-American teams. You may see some contradicting points there, but for this award, I would lean towards Nick Yusuf just slightly over Lucas Sardo.
I like the pick. So yeah, I also agree with that. I think Lucas Sardo would, for me personally, would be the front runner on that part. You said Nick Yusuf would be your front runner for Silver Slugger, and then so yeah, we got all these guys so far on this list. Seems like most of these are kind of somewhat locked down for what we've got. I think the biggest one today, which is the one that tells us who's the best player in the league, who's the guy who always comes out every single game, plays the lights out, who's our Patrick Mahomes, who's our Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani type of guy, and that's would be most valuable player. Last season, our most valuable player from a year ago,
True Hendrickson,
yes, who had really good stats on both sides of the ball. So that's the biggest key for picking MVP as the award. You gotta have good stats, not just batting wise and not just pitching wise. You basically have to be somewhere at the very top with most of your stats on that sheet. The craziest thing is that and this is gonna sound like it's extremely biased, but if you look at the stat line, Steven Hayden, 1.90 ERAs, 97 strikeouts. Obviously Dylan Hoffman had more strikeouts in that number, but the ERA was huge, 44.3 innings pitched. And then you look at the batting stats. The highest batting average in the entire league with a 629 average. Second place in OPS with a 2.072 with behind his teammate Jordan Drexler. But look at 73 plate appearances with 39 hits. 14 home runs. Not the most home runs in the entire league, but the average is what is there for me. And then you also look at the number of walks as well on there, and and the singles, like 21 singles. That's an insane number of singles there. And then obviously not the top one as well, but Nick Yusuf is also there. But like those stat pieces, like individually, are spread out between different players. But then you look at obviously your stat line, and it's pretty consistent on almost every single part of it.
So just to get this official, is that your pick for the All-Star for the MVP?
I feel like the only other guy that would probably be in that trade-off too would probably be like Tyler Moore, but for me the pitching wise was not quite there. A 3.91 ERA, 66 strikeouts, and only 35.3 innings pitched, which is less than what you had. Dylan Hoffman could have been another guy in there, but the batting wasn't entirely there this year like he did a few seasons ago when he was MVP with 9 home runs, which is a lot less. A .4858 batting average, which is lower than what you have. And then if you look at True Hendrickson's stats from this season compared to yours, obviously a little bit less, but he's got more home runs. But the OPS is what is really helping that conversation carry. So it's like all these little itty bitty stats that everyone else has got. They're like first place, second place, second place kind of stuff in there. And then you look at Steven Haynes, it's like okay, it's kind of basically all there consistently. Like he's either third, he's either second, he's always first in that range. So I'm going to take you as probably the no doubter.
And this is what we kind of saved for. I feel like I could have won a lot of awards. If we didn't hand out a different award to different people, I feel like I could have won a lot of awards here. I could have put possibly in the Cy Young or the Hank Aaron or Silver Slugger, things like that, which Silver Slugger I was the previous season. I will say before I get into that more, it's nice to see. It's nice to see that it's not clear cut. Like every award's like one name that we're all thinking of. It's nice to see that we have a bunch of different names that people are considering and things like that. It's good to see some good that these players are doing well and really putting a name out there for themselves in terms of and they should be in the conversation for this award. Anthony put up that picture before about putting a few names in there for the MVP, such as Hendrickson's or Nick Yusuf or me in there. But we've talked about this before. We've so far in our league's history we've had 4 different winners of the MVP trophy, going all the way back to the fall of 2021, the very first season. It was Anthony Agrusa with a 680 average. Much different league back then, a lot less pitching, but. And then the only player that's still not around anymore in the league is Joe Harkey. Won it in the spring 2022, who was also a member of the LA Wolfsville C. That was their first season around. Then the fall of 2022, Dylan Hoffman, who was we mentioned in the Cy Young Award and things like that. And then the summer 2022 and the spring 2023 MVP being True Hendrickson, in which he had great seasons for the Wise Guys. I feel like I've been on the door, been knocking. I think I had the best year so far this year. With you have that 1.9 ERA, 44 and a third innings pitched, 97 strikeouts, only allowing 14 runs on the whole year. Like I said, I feel like I could have been Cy Young. And you go to the hitting stats. I don't have quite as many at bats as everybody else, but. Now, if we were able to spread this out over those, like some people had 110 at bats and things like that. So we look at True Hendrickson, who had 122 at bats, things like that. You spread out my stats over that time period, I'd have some ridiculous stats. 629 average, 685 on base percentage, both the highest in the league. I thought I was actually going to be first in OPS, but I forgot about Jordan being on my team. Jordan had some great slugging. He had a couple. We both had the same number of home runs though, actually, which is funny. But he had a few less hits and a few less appearances. In all my appearances, I only got out 23 times, which I did not miss a single game. I was there for every single game, including the beach games and stuff like that. So I'm only getting out 23 times. I'm averaging getting out. There's some games I wouldn't get out at all, but I'm averaging getting out in between 1 and 2 times a game, which when you consider I have 4 to 6 plate appearances a game, I'm getting on base at least 3 to 5 times a game, which was just very impressive. A lot of singles. I was tied for third in the league with singles. Nick Yusoff had 24, but he had a lot more at bats, and same with True Hendrickson, who had 27 singles on the year. I was just finding a way to get on base. Had 14 home runs. Had a very good power year. Mixed in a triple in there with a few doubles as well. I was a lot of a singles and home runs guy. If I was either crushing the ball on the ground or crushing it in the air, and I didn't walk very much either. I averaged less than 1 walk per game as well. So we've talked about it before. It does sound a little biased, but if you look at the numbers, it doesn't. I've got Stephen Hayden for the MVP.
Yeah, and I want to add to that. It's like you talk about in terms of like MLB. It's like, why does Shohei Ohtani get MVP like almost every single season he's been here so far, right? It's because he's got the pitching wise and the batting wise stuff, right? The stuff that he's doing in that league is insane already, trying to do pitching and hitting at the same time, and then actually being like one of the top guys out there. And maybe he's not like the best hitter out there, but he's like right in that same line, like right behind Judge, and all those guys out there. Matt Olson is also somewhere out there for that MVP conversation right now for MLB. But then you look at the pitching thing, right? He may not be the best pitcher out there as well, but you look at like Spencer Strider, and all those guys, or Zach Gallen could be, one of those guys. But that's why we have these other awards, right? Is, for those stats, maybe they're not so good at pitching, but they're really good at hitting. Like, okay, Silver Slugger, Hank Aaron Award. Okay, maybe your pitching is super good, but your hitting is not as great. Okay, Cy Young Award, right? So if we're talking about MVP, it's like, are you really, really good at both? And if you look, like, I'm going to keep referencing the stat sheet every single time for the summer 2023 season. The stat line for Stephen Hayden is just enough for me to say, yes, I think he is MVP because he's got the really good pitching, 1.90 ERA. Yes. Does he have the hitting? Yes. .623 batting average. Absolutely. The highest one in the entire league. Oh, sorry, 629. Which is the highest batting average in the entire league. Does he have the most home runs? No. 14 home runs, right? OPS, is it the highest? No. Jordan Drexler had a higher OPS, but he's right there, second place, right? So I'm looking for the most all-around player in the entire league, and that's going to be Stephen Hayden.
Yeah, you can make the argument I was the best pitcher and the best hitter in the league, and so when you combine those two, it ends up leading to a MVP nomination. But those are award picks for this. Those are award picks for this year. If you got any concerns, too bad. These are all just our opinions, by the way. We're just looking at the stats, we're remembering how the season went, and things like that. So these are some of the guys we want to highlight and things like that. But we also got some other stuff to highlight here as well, not just the awards.
And we're not the only ones who are, obviously voting for these award winners. And obviously, there's a couple of other board members who are also inputting their votes as well. So it's not completely biased. And obviously, this show, it's Justin Lee, Stephen Hayden. So it's like, two guys in Eliosa OC. So it's going to sound a little bit one-sided sometimes, but like we have stuff to back, the kind of stuff that we're talking about. And yeah, it's going to be a little bit, one-sided because it's obviously us talking here, but I didn't put myself in the conversation because my stat line was not as great as a couple of
neither you should have.
Yeah, like it's not even close, so we're not going to put myself in that. But yeah, Stephen Hayden does have the accolades to do so, right? So I think it's only fair that he's in that conversation for any of these awards. Okay, so that'll lead us into our picks for the first team and second team All-Americans. We pick about 7 guys for each one, first team and second team. Some of them could be interchangeable if you want to put it that way, and then obviously we could have some honorable mentions as well. But I'll start off with you, Steven. You had some guys you wanted to list out here. So first team All-American for the summer 2023 season. Who do you got?
Yeah, this is something we first introduced in the fall 2022. Anthony introduced it. The original list, it consisted of I want to say it was True Hendrickson, Dylan Hoff. This original first team was True Hendrickson, Dylan Hoffman, Ben Cottaspoti, Shaden Hendrickson, Matt Hornage, Bobby Petty, and Stephen Hayden. That was the original one. This spring, we did if you go back and listen, I believe it was the second podcast number 2 that we did. You can see my predictions for the spring 2023, the first team and second team All-American. These were not posted by Anthony, but those were some of my predictions. But we're gonna bring it back and keep making the predictions every time. So first team here, first name on there is Steven. We just glazed him a little bit for the past 15-20 minutes. We talked a lot about him, MVP, and both of our opinions. Probably could have been the Cy Young or Hank Aaron Award, stuff like that. Second, this is in no particular order. It's just the top 7. We're starting off with number 1 though, but that's me. Next guy on the team would be Jordan Dreschler. Both of our winners for the Hank Aaron Award had some good pitching there as well. Ended up finishing with a 4.18 ERA, 31 2/3 innings pitched, had 66 strikeouts, allowing 22 runs on the year. He had a good year overall, both hitting and pitching. Unfortunately, not able to get it done in the playoffs, but both these guys were the 2 biggest reasons why they will see to get to the 3rd seed in the first place. Next guy I have on the list would be Dylan Hoffman. I mentioned Cy Young winner, had some good hitting as well. They had a 500 average. It was MVP a couple seasons ago. Cy Young this previous season, both of our Cy Young winners to be for this one. He had a 458 average this year as well. Only had 9 home runs, but had 38 hits and got at a 545 on base percentage. He had a very good year and deserving the first team, in my opinion. Next guy I have on the list, is the first player from the undefeated team, being True Hendrickson. Had some good pitching numbers, little bit up from the previous years, but he still only had a 3 ERA, 28 innings pitched, 60 strikeouts, 14 runs allowed. His MVP season last year, he had over 100. He had 98 strikeouts, so he didn't quite have the number of innings pitched to be able to do that. But he still had a very good year, and then offensively he was great as well. Highest 495 average, 574 on base percentage, 16 home runs. Had a very good year overall. He did. Next guy on that list is Drake. Drake improved a lot from the previous couple years. His pitching's really been locked in better. You mentioned before he was third in my Cy Young votings with .53 ERA, 22 and 2/3 innings pitched, only allowing 2 runs on the whole year. At least one of those being a home run to me, but that's besides the point. Also had a good year hitting. He was the leader in home runs for a long time. Ended up finishing with 14. Had 25 hits on the year, 471 on base percentage. Had a very good year, both hitting and pitching. Fifth guy, as the captain of the winning captain, will be Tyler Moore. 477 average with a 605 on base percentage. Both of those leading his team, and guys who at least had like a good amount of ABs. 17 home runs on the year led his team, and then pitching wise, he had a very good pitching year as well. 391 ERA, and again only gave up 23 runs on the year and 35 1/3 innings pitched with 66 strikeouts. He had a good year himself, and then finally, my 7th player, which a little bit contradicting for my opinions on the Silver Slugger, but this one is Lucas Sardo. Look at the Silver Slugger. Talk about, you only focus on the hitting aspect. When you talk about the first team, the All-American, you focus on both the pitching and the hitting. Lucas Sardo was the main pitcher on the Avricarbros. Had an 8.05 ERA on the year. He gave up 51 runs and 38 innings pitched. Did lead his team to the fifth seed. Also had some very good hitting numbers. So you mentioned before, he led the league in home runs with 19, 38 hits, 104 plate appearances, 625 on base percentage, and a 494 average. With that pitching combined, I believe Nick Yusof had a slightly better hitting year, giving him the Silver Slugger. But when you mix in the pitching, I mean, Nick Yusof didn't pitch a whole lot for Whoosh. Actually, only has one inning recorded pitching. Also gave up 20 runs, so not the best for him. So when you combine the pitching and the hitting, I give that the slight nod between first and second team to Lucas Sardo. What are your thoughts on that first team? Do you have any guys that you would possibly switch out at all?
I know that I think the first 6 people in that list are kind of right where they should be. You could also put Zach Moore up there as well. Just you look at the stat line that he's got on the pitching side of things. Lucas Sardo could also be in the second team if you wanted to, just because of the pitching wise stats maybe not so great. I think, and we'll talk about in a second, guys like Nick Yusof could also be mentioned in the first team All-American as well. His name could be switched between either the first team or second team. But you look at his batting stats that he had this year. He came back from a season break a season ago, and then came back and hit like a beast for his team, and kind of helped them get into that long winning streak that they had in the later part of the season. I think he was a big reason why. But I think it's a pretty good list of guys that you got up there, and I think it's a pretty solid lineup for the first team All-American.
Yeah, those first 6 I had pretty set, and for that final spot, it was very close between Lucas Sardo and Nick Yusof, in my opinion. But because of the pitching and being the captain of the Avocados, I decided to go with Lucas Sardo. So I'll go into my second team now. First name on the team for the second team would be Nick Yusof. I was very close to putting him in the first team All-American. With that pitching, I think either one could be switched. Him or Lucas. I think either one of those could be switched around. But Nick Yusof had a great hitting wise, especially 523 average, 622 on base percentage. Both of those very very high in terms of league totals. Might be third for both of those behind Jordan and Steven. I had 15 home runs on the year, 46 hits in total. Just saw a lot of opportunities at the plate. Which is a very scary hitter. He used to play for the OSC for 2 seasons, this summer and the fall of 2022. He played for my team. A lot of guys at Whoosh, they played with me before at the OSC. Min started with me, and Min started on my team in the spring of 2023. Ryan Miller and Nick Yusof started with me in the summer of 2023. Donald LeConte played with me. He didn't start with us, but he did play with us spring 2023. Owen Sure never played with me at the OSC, but we have played Sunday League together in a different baseball league. So I know a lot of the guys. I've joked about them calling them the B team and stuff. Although it looks like we're going to make an actual B team. Not say the Division II team. I should say it's not a B team. But Donald's had some fun with that. The last time we played each other, he beat us when I was there, when I showed up there late, and then Jordan wasn't there at all. So he had his opportunity to say he won. But we've also beat them at full strength every time. But that's all right. But back to Nick Yusof, he had a great season overall. Was the clear hitting leader on their team. It was the leadoff hitter and got a lot of at bats and was able to set the tone for them. And also, I believe, was at every game. So, next on my list, I have Shaden Hendrickson, part of that undefeated squad. Just missed out on being in that first team as well. He had 3.54 ERA, 51 strikeouts, and 25 in a third innings pitched. Only around 15 runs the whole year. Had some good pitching. Had some good pitching numbers improved from the previous year in the spring when he played with the MS Warriors. And then also his hitting numbers were very good as well. 457 average, 581 on base percentage, 14 home runs on the year, and who knows how the season would have looked had he been around there for the playoffs and the World Series. It could have been could have been. I think if Shaden was there for the World Series, I think they would have. I think the Purple Huskies would have won the World Series and possibly would have stayed undefeated the whole year. But that's a question we will never have answered, and that we will never know. So things happen. Next on my list is Zach Moore. We've talked about him a lot. The home run derby champion, the All-Star Game MVP, all that stuff. He didn't have as great of numbers as he did in the offseason, but he had a 389 average during the regular season, 546 on base percentage, 13 home runs for him. And then pitching wise, he was good as well. He had the lower ERA on his team, 3.28 ERA, 36 and 2/3 innings pitched, allowing 20 runs, had 63 strikeouts, slightly less than his brother Tyler Moore. Next on this list, I got Mo Wright. I talked about him he was my pick for Rookie of the Year. He's definitely the consideration for sure. A 4.44 average, with a 5.12 on base percentage, had the highest average on his team in a brand new team then, which he led them to the 6th seed and ended up leading them to the semifinal, to the championship round, the semifinals. 12 home runs on the year for him. Was hitting the ball very well. Just a lot of muscles in those biceps, which, funny enough, I believe he's around 24, 25. I know I've had this conversation with Justin previously. He thought he was like in his low 30s or high 20s. But he's right around my age, from my understanding. Pitching wise, we talked about him a lot. He improved a lot. 3.30 ERA, 20 innings pitched, only allowing 11 runs and 37 strikeouts. He improved a lot as the season went on. Started off as not pitching at all to being their main pitcher. So, fifth guy I have on the list is a guy that we purposely never put in the MVP conversation, or I never did. Is Mr. Trash Can himself, Joey Ponder. Joey Ponder, pitching numbers aren't great, but he had some improvements and kept getting better throughout the year. 8.40 ERA, 15 innings pitched, gave up 21 runs. He was kind of that's compliment to Dylan. And actually, in the playoffs, he actually was pitching pretty well. Did not allow a single run, especially in Game 3 of that matchup between the Purple Huskies. And then hitting wise, he actually he's doing some good hitting as well. I think he's starting to see the ball a lot better, understand it better, understand the differences of wiffle ball and baseball. At a 4.11 average, 5.74 on base percentage, 12 home runs on the year. He had a very good offensive season as well. Was above his team average. So overall, those were good numbers for him. Sixth player I had on my list. A little bit of a surprise one. This one's more on the pitching side, but Alex Harris. Alex Harris had a lot of improvements on the pitching side and kept improving throughout the year for Wiffle D's. They became more formidable as the year went on. Finished with a 4.21 ERA, 33 innings pitched, 23 runs allowed, 55 strikeouts. Had some absolutely disgusting stuff, especially as the year went on. His hitting numbers weren't as great. Had 3.23 average, 3.91 on base percentage. Only had 20 hits on the year, 5 of those being home runs. But that pitching was really started to, as the year went on. He was shutting out the MS Warriors for a while when they played each other. I remember even at the beach, he made it a very close game between the Beach City Bombers. So I think it was like a 7-5 game they won, or like a 5-4 game, something along those lines. I made that a very close game with the Beach City Bombers. So I have him making that second team All-American. Kind of similar to what we saw with Tyler Moore last year. I had Tyler Moore in my second team All-American, which I made primarily for the pitching. From the stuff I was seeing, I previously saw Tyler Moore have some great numbers, some great pitches and great stuff before. And I see some of that similar stuff from Alex Harris here. Finally, this one was a little bit of a tough one for me to fill. But I found a guy who led his team in batting average and on base percentage for his team. That made it to the semifinals, and that would be Kyle Froome. 47 average, 556 on base percentage. Had 7 home runs on the year, but was just getting on base a lot. Got on base 50 of his 90 plate appearances on the year. Had a great overall offensive season. Pitching wise, he didn't really pitch too much. He does have 4 1/3 innings pitched, gave up 7 runs, but he's not primarily in there for a pitcher. And hitting wise, he's shown to be one of the better hitters in the league. even showing that the fast pitch tournament, the very first one that OC Wiffle went to, he had a big home run in Game 2 versus the Las Vegas Pharaohs, and he showed some good hits against the Las Vegas Whifflers as well. So those are my 7 for the second team All-American. Let me. What other changes would you possibly make, or people add or get rid of?
I think it's a very solid list of guys on the second team as well. I think Nick Yusoff and Zach Moore and Mo Wright, I think, are 3 names in there that could, possibly be, interchanged between the first team and second team. If you look at the kind of performances that they had this year, Joey Ponder, I think, fits perfectly in the second team. Not insane numbers, but like pretty good numbers on the year compared to a season ago. Shaden, I think, is also a good one in there. Alex Harris was the biggest under the scope kind of guy for me. I actually like that pick though because of the pitching wise, because Wiffle D has had some early issued struggles this year, obviously being a newer team upmost, and I think Alex Harris is that guy who could be a really good pitcher next season if he can figure out other stuff. And then you look at that ERA, which is a really low number for a rookie as himself, and I think it's a good sign for Wiffle D's team to say, hey, I think we got a guy who potentially could be our number 1 for next season. That could help them, get their chances, whichever division that they're in, for the fall season. So I think it's a good name. The one change I might actually switch on you is from. I do like his batting average, being the highest one on the team, 7 home runs. I think the one guy I'd switch that with would probably be Nigel Ward. You look at his batting average, a little bit higher than Kyle Fromm's, over 500, 9 home runs, same amount of plate appearances as Kyle Fromm. But the on the offensive things, like hitting wise, I think Nigel Ward just had some better stats. I mean, obviously he didn't have more hits than Kyle Fromm, but I think it's a good fight between the two on who takes that final spot on the second team. For me, other honorable mentions I'd also kind of put in that conversation. I put Hayden Hager, who also had a good season. Maybe not the greatest numbers like he did like during his rookie year. You can also put guys like Michael Haskell, who had a pretty good offensive year, 16 home runs, which is the most on his team. Not the highest batting average on his squad, though, just behind Mo Wright on that list, who had a fantastic season in it himself. And then you could also look at a few other guys that are on this sheet as well. I think for me, a clear-cut second would have also been Matt Hornich of the Go Hill Pitchers. You look at his batting average of 4.435, 9 home runs. But the only problem was that I think he was absent for a big chunk of those games, so that's why his plate appearance numbers are right at 57 with just 20 hits. If he had more plate appearances, maybe those numbers might have been more elevated, and then that would clue to me that, yeah, this guy definitely could have been a second teamer, but I think he's just falls right out of that list because of the number of games that he missed. But for me personally, I like the list. I think you could also make the conversation that Nigel Ward could also be switched around with Kyle Fromm in that second team All-American list.
Yeah, for me, the difference maker between Kyle and Nigel was the fact that Nigel did have those 3 other hitters in front of him. He had True, Shaden, and Drake in front of him. Kyle, we really only had Dylan in front of him. Hitting wise, Kyle also did lead his team and lead the MS Warriors in average as well. So that was kind of the difference. That was kind of the difference maker for me. And Nigel Ward did lead his team in average. Actually, surprisingly, when you compare it to Drake and Shaden and True, about having those 3 guys in front of you, I think that puts Kyle just a little bit in front for me. With Matt Hornich maybe could have been, but previously he was a first team All-American. Was in the fall of 2022, but it's a much different list from what we've seen. It's changed in the previous years. It's changed a lot. At one point Justin Lee made it to the second team All-American, but now he's nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, I'm gonna work on that for next season, but I think it's a good list to
please figure it out.
It's kind of figuring it out towards the end. Give me a little bit of credit here. But
figure it out.
It's a good list of guys for the first team and second team All-American. It's also good for, if we're talking about preseason superlatives for the fall season, like who are the guys to kind of look out for to continue making a good run and being really good guys. So the second team players, we kind of expect them to kind of pick up things if possible, especially guys like Mo Wright. There's a lot of pressure on his shoulders too. Alex Harris is another guy that you could look out for, who's been kind of flying under the radar as well. So look out for those guys. I mean, Joey Ponder wasn't even in this conversation at all either a season ago. There was even talks of him even being removed from the team, like we mentioned a few times this year. But then he kind of switched things around and made a name for himself. Not MVP name, obviously. We won't go that road. But I think
get some trash can names in there.
Yeah. Here, throw the sheet in there. Yeah, there you go. Ah, yes. But yeah, I think it's a good list of guys that we've got on there. So congrats to to everyone who, had a really good season for the summer 2023 season, and whoever wins those awards, congrats to you guys on a great job this year, and we'll see you guys hopefully in the fall season as well.
We'll see if these guys are able to, if they're able to stay in these first and second team spots. At least in our opinion, I'm not sure Steven's going to be able to get much better stats than he did this year, but we'll see. Anything's possible. Anything's possible with him. With how much wiffle ball he's playing, he's playing a lot of wiffle ball. We're hopefully going to talk about it in this podcast about the SoCal wiffle ball, because his first video should have come out either this past week or the previous week, but as of recording this, it's still not out, so I don't want to ruin anything in terms of how he did and things like that. But we will talk about that. That should be up by next week. We will talk more about the performance that Steven had in his first SoCal series, a different type of style. But for now, we'll see if any of these guys are able to make their way into, see if any of these second teams replace any of these guys in the first team, or vice versa, and see the new guys that step up into these squads. There's usually always a few new people in here each year, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. So those are kind of the guys on the scope, on our radar to see who's going to be really good, and being able to keep up the the chip on their shoulders and see, like, can you hold your spot in the first team and second team overalls, right? So yeah, so that concludes it for all the talk for summer 2023 season. It's time to look forward to the next few items that we've got for the rest of summer, and then obviously falling into the fall 2023 and winter 2023 season, which, by the way, both early bird pricing registration are up right now. If you haven't signed up your team, or if your team captain hasn't signed up your team yet, do that pretty soon. I'm not sure when the early bird pricing ends, including the summer tournament as well. That pricing is also in early bird pricing right now at $15. It'll go up to $25 in about a few weeks or so. So go sign up for that as well if you're ready for that. I think we can talk about that tournament a little bit, even though we don't have the finite details of everything yet. We're still yet to have a type of meeting, but here's what we do know. We do know it will be big barrel bats. There's the talks about keeping the pitching distance the same. There are talks about the same speed limit. So most of the same kind of details that you'll see, like, OC football rules as well. There's also conversations of adding other different stuff as well. We won't go into detail about that kind of stuff, but it's something to look forward to, which is the, July Big Barrel Tournament, which is supposed to be somewhat like a World Baseball Classic type of format, which is, you get pool play with a bunch of teams, and then obviously you get your quarterfinals, semifinals, and then your final game for the tournament. And looking like there will most likely be on Sundays. The dates are not final yet either. We're looking for either late July or early August for those to start, and then it'll finish right before the fall 2023 OC football season should start. Did you want to add anything about those tournaments and any details One
thing, when we talk about big barrels and stuff, we're not talking about baseball bats. You can't use a baseball bat to play with ball at all. We're talking about like, for example, you go to a store like that. The classic one for me I can think of is like that, the Black Easton bat. That's what we mean by big barrel bat. That Black East one that I remember growing up with and playing like at different baseball camps and stuff like that. There are custom ones you can buy online as well. I bought one from a guy in Texas. Also, a website called Moonshot, in which those are very expensive bats, but you can use you can use those in the tournament like this. There are some other websites out there as well, like the What a Bats, the GTSOH bat. I'm not sure if that's still around, but things like that. But overall, with this one, we're finalizing stuff. As we mentioned earlier, Anthony's still on vacation, so we're waiting for him to get back to meet up with this stuff with the different time zones and things like that. But overall, I think it's going to be something. I think it's going to be something different for us. It's going to be a different formats. Looks like a lot of the championships and stuff will happen like August 12th, August 13th stuff. So. With the first season, this fall season starting on August 8th, it's gonna be you got to mix between the two. So welcome to my life, but we're mixing between 3 different wiffle ball types of play. We're gonna finalize all the rules and we'll get those out to people shortly once we figure all that stuff. But it's gonna be, I think the tournament should be a good time. I think I would encourage everyone to come out there. It's a lot different experience than the season. A little bit more competitive, especially with the shorter season stuff. Registration is online. I believe it's around. Right now it's early birds, like $15 a person, or later on it'll be $25 a person, stuff like that. So we've talked about tournaments before, like the SoCal football tournaments that I've played in, or the fast pitch tournaments in Upland that we've played in, which we talked about at length this past week. In the podcast in which we finished, and we made it all the way to the semifinals, which was a good change for us. So we got a lot to hash out. We'll let you guys know as soon as we figure all that stuff out. But it should be a good time. It should be a good time for stuff like this, and it should be a different experience. You guys don't have to be stuck with the same teams you're on. You guys can team up with different people or get people outside to come in, things like that. But we'll have all that more on it, and that information soon.
Yeah, I think the biggest essential thing for the bat thing, which I'll also add, is like it just has to be a plastic bat. It can't be like a wooden or metal bat that you see for baseball, because obviously that has a lot of pop. But the plastic bats are basically the more legal ones. I know yourself, I think we've shown it on the podcast a few times. The plastic bat with the wood handle.
Yeah, we have.
That works, obviously. I think it's just the meat of the barrel has to basically just be a plastic of sorts for the bat itself. So I'm sure Anthony will be keeping a close eye on the equipment and stuff like that. But other stuff that are yet to be seen will be figured out later after the meeting has been taken and done with. Yeah, so more to look forward to. Obviously, you got a different format for the league this year. You got like Division 1, Division 2, Purple League. If you want to look at more details about those, yet again, go to ocwiffleball.com. orangecountywiffleball.com to check out those. They're basically under the fall and winter 2023 schedules. They say it right there, D1, D2 Purple League breakdowns. These will be interesting because I'm sure there's a lot of teams who are going to get mixed up in different divisions. Some teams might be a little bit upset with where they get placed. I'm not sure how these will be determined initially because we do have about 12 teams from the season ago, and I'm assuming most of them will return for the fall 2023 season. So there's a lot of things that could get mixed up around. So mix and match how you will with that. Wherever you place, obviously you just gotta play to the best of your ability and make a name for yourself. I think the biggest thing to note about Division 1, Division 2 is that it depends on how strong your record would be. Obviously, where you finish off in the regular season determines whether you're in Division 1 or Division 2 the following season. So it's kind of like a how soccer is done in England. You got your Premier League and your Champions League, so you can get promoted or you can get kicked down to a different league. So it'll be that kind of format. But you want to get, is there some kind of details that most people wouldn't understand about the Division 1, Division 2, or Purple League thing that
When we do Division One and Division Two, it'll also be kind of decided by Anthony and the board, kind of seeing which team would go where. We don't want a team that's going to get crushed every game in Division One to be in Division One. We want to have a chance in Division Two and things like that. So it'll be partially up to our decision as the board and things like that. There'll be relatively the same rules between Division One and Division Two. There'll be some times where Division One team will play Division Two team, and we mean no disrespect if you get put in Division Two. We're trying to either help you develop, or we're trying to make sure you don't get crushed in every game. Because this past season we kind of saw, during the regular season at least, it was basically the main four. They had the top four teams would, for the most part, would beat pretty much every single other team, and then they played against each other, and that's where you get the discrepancy in terms of the record and things like that. So we don't mean disrespect. And if you win Division Two, you can come up to win Division One, and if you do bad in Division One, you could go down to Division Two and things like that. So there's things like that can happen. Now with the Purple League as well. Purple League is similar. It's more of that one's going to be, the rules are going to be a little bit different. It's going to be more of a fun league. You get slower pitching limits and different rules and stuff like that. You have 3 guys and 3 girls on a team minimum, things like that. You can't play in both Division 1 and Division 2. You can do one or either. Either one or the other, I should say. You can do you could also play in the Purple League if you play in Division 1 or Division 2, though. As listed on the website here, you can do both. You just can't do both Division 1 and Division 2. But us personally, the Little Svosi are looking to put a team into each division. We have already got the ball rolling, and we got some exciting players coming in especially for the Division 1 team. I got one guy I'm very excited on. That's had some great highlights on Instagram and things like that. But we'll keep that a secret until the season starts. So I'm looking forward to the Little Svosi chances in Division 1. And I think the split. Hopefully, we get enough teams to make it a good split, and it'll be a good year for both.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, for the biggest thing for Division 1, Division 2, the reason why it's kind of been trending that way is that you see the level of competition being split. They're kind of one-sided is moving to kind of an extreme side of things. More competition, more high-level players. And then you got your guys who are kind of just over there who haven't really figured it out yet. So there's nothing kind of like in the middle between the two. Like if you see the record that we saw during the summer 2003 season, there was a lot of teams that were kind of sitting in that lower part with the low records, and then at least 4 or 5 teams up there with like the best record in the league, and there was a discrepancy between wins and losses, right? So it's been kind of trending this way for a while. So obviously, if you feel like you're up for competition, obviously you got to find yourself with a team who's got the same level of competition to at least play in Division 1. My understanding is that there are chances where you also will play against interdivisional games. So Division 1 and Division 2, there's probably 2 or 3 games where, depending on how many teams each division gets, they get to play a few games between Division 1 and Division 2 teams. So that could also happen throughout the season. But it's just like, kind of a new experimental thing per se for the league. So it's up to Anthony and the board to obviously figure out how things will kind of go, and then from there we'll just let things kind of play out itself, and we'll see what kind of feedback we get, after the fall and winter season to see what where the league stands and how it looks. But if you're looking to have some just simple fun, then the Purple League is also kind of just a more relaxed type of league, less intensive competition. Obviously the requirements are you need 3 guys and 3 girls on your team, so it's a little bit more laid back than it usually has been in the past. So if you're looking for that kind of style, then the Purple League is just right for you for sure. But yeah, that's kind of where things have been kind of trending towards for a while now. So now they're kind of coming into play into this upcoming fall season. So let's take a look at the fall 2023 schedule a little bit. There's a lot of different new events that Anthony's been kind of playing around with throughout the last 2 seasons. Beach Series was kind of that new thing that was there. Obviously, this last season we did a Padres Series, which is still actually included in the fall 2023 season. which will take place on September 24th. There's another big series they just added on there as well. And then you've also got like another thing called the Turkey Trot and Potluck, which I'm assuming is going to be like a league-wide walk/run type of thing, and maybe do like a potluck thing at the end or whatnot. I'm not sure what the details are on that yet, but I'm sure those get announced eventually. If you take a look at on the website at orangecountywiffleball.com, fall 2020 schedule takes place between August 15th and October 10th, which is about 2 months span. So you've got your first 3 weeks actually being taken place in a different location because the Great Parks has this situation right now where there's limited reservation numbers because of softball league wide stuff and baseball, soccer, blah 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 blah. So the commissioner is unable to make those reservations for the Great Park for the fall 2023 season. So those first 3 weeks will actually take place at the Huntington Beach Sports Complex for the first 3 weeks. So I'll say it again: this Huntington Beach Sports Complex will be the home for the games for the week 1, 2, and 3 games that take place beginning August 15th to August 29th. And then when you get to week 4, that's when we get back to the Great Park, and then everything is kind of, same place all around. All-Star Game, which takes place September 17th, will most likely take place at the beach, which we typically have done the last 2 seasons. The new thing is the Big A Series. So this is taking place on Saturday, September 9th at 2 p.m., which is probably going to be similar to the San Diego Series, which is obviously teams who are available will play against each other at 2 p.m. before the Angels game, and then after those games are concluded, head over to the Angels game, have a good time, and then that's kind of where things go on from there. And then you'll have the same thing in September on Sunday, September 24th, which starts at 9:30 a.m. So you got to wake up a little bit early to drive down to San Diego. Especially with some traffic with just the 5 freeway. But San Diego Series again, you play the games in the morning and then you go to San Diego game later in the day, which would I believe takes place at 2:00 during that day. So those two are included in the fall 2023 schedule. So pretty exciting stuff for the fall 2023 season. And then you've got your playoffs taking place on October 9th. And then the World Series will take place on the following day, which is October 10th. The winter 2023 season will also take place at the Great Park, so nothing crazy there. Obviously, All-Star Home Run Derby will be the same place. The Sand Series, not sure what the word is on that yet, but I'm assuming that's going to be at Balboa and not for the Big A Series or the Beach Series in San Diego. And then not sure what the Turkey Trot is, but still a lot of stuff that can be added for the winter 2023 schedule. If you look at the schedule, is there any other notes that we should add about the fall 2023 to winter 2023 seasons?
We've seen it the past couple of seasons where you have the Monday playoffs, and then you play again Tuesday. So just be prepared for that if there are teams make it to the playoffs. Other than that, there's not too much. Just one new event so far each year. We'll see. We'll talk more about things like that. See if there are any other events we want to try adding to make the experience any different. Any other things like that. Other than that, it's going to be some busy time. We understand people are busy, but this is the schedule we got. We try to plan it out pretty far ahead. So this is what we got. This is what we got right now for the next 2 seasons. Being a little shorter season than we saw this past year, but the first time we're getting the fall and a winter schedule. And previously it was just the fall. We would start beginning of October, things like that's end of September, and just run all the way through the winter and not have both of these going on. But this time we got both of these going on. So obviously past the fall. There's only been one champion in the fall 2021 and 2022 won by the Wise Guys, and they're not around anymore. So we'll have a new winner definitely in the fall for sure. So we'll see who it be. We'll see who the new teams that are get added on in. See if any guys move teams, things like that. So we'll be finding out more about that as we go along here.
Yeah, for sure. And then we'll also be crowning a new winter 2023 champion as well with the addition of the winter season, which we haven't seen in the league history before either. So that'll be some new stuff. So, keep an eye on this. for the season to come out, and we'll be preparing. And August 15th is going to come up really, really fast. That is 100% guaranteed for sure. Especially when you do the summer tournament, which is going to happen pretty soon. Time flies for sure. So be prepared for that. We're excited to see all the new teams and new people who are able to come out and meet some of those guys. So it'll be pretty cool. So I know I'm excited. I know you're excited about that. So we'll see how those go. But let's see the next things that'll happen for next week, which for the podcast, planning to have at least one special guest on here to talk about their story a little bit. Looking to either get Lucas Sardo or Michael Haskip on the show. And then whenever your man Dustin decides to post a video, we can talk about that too. And then we'll come back here and we'll talk about if there's any other interesting news that we want to discuss. So I think we've basically done all of the stuff on our itinerary for today, and I think that might be good for episode 15. Would you say?
That's fine with me. We got other things to do today. I've got a game later today. You gotta work later today. So I think we're good. We don't need to keep these too long. We got to add some good conversation about winners and stuff. Some stuff we held off talking to each other about because of this. So it was good to air that out. And other than that, we're good.
All right, awesome. Well, appreciate everybody watching and tuning into the podcast every week. We love the viewership and hearing, all the people who watch the podcast. Like it's a really a treat for us to be able to do these for you guys, and it's rewarding to hear that people are watching these every week. So it's awesome to get this to you guys and have all this information out there. But remember, subscribe to the OCU Wiffle Ball YouTube page, which will come out eventually. The Hunky Door Sports Show YouTube obviously is where you're watching this on. Subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure you follow the Instagram pages for OC Football and all affiliates, and including the Hunky Door Sports Show Instagram as well. But that's it for us. Justin Lee, Stephen Hayden. We'll catch you guys in episode 16 of That Scuffed Up. Have a great day, and we'll see you guys next week.